Hey, what's going on, family? This is Manuel Godoy from Black Sands, and we're here today with Steven Johnson. He is the man behind all video games and his own
Hey,
comic
what's going
series,
on,
The
family? This is
Everborn.
Manuel Godoy from Black Sands, and we.
Oops. It looks like I had the other video up at the time, so I got a little echo, but I just killed that, so no problems there. So first of all, thank you guys so much for showing up. This is one of the big things that we're doing now because we hit over 1,000 patrons. Hopefully, we can maintain that, right? We always get a big boom before our next big project and stuff like that. So, for instance, we have an investment round coming up, and because of the investment round, people are, starting to sign up like crazy, right? They want to get in there. We also had a casting round. That was a huge one. So, ridiculous amount of people applied for the casting round. And hopefully, a whole bunch of people will be applying for our internships and other things like that when we're developing a video game, which will be the Black Sands RPG. That's the big thing that's happening right now. All right. Now, Steven Johnson, he's a gamer. He's been doing games for a while. He does programming and building these games from the ground up, kind of the what you call the iron for the production, right? Just pumping out all the stuff when it comes to the programming side and everything else. And he's going to be helping us today figure out what the hell we're going to do with this RPG, right? Because this is a community project. It's a community project. We don't really know what we're doing out here. We need someone out here who's a little bit more experience on Unity, right, in order to build this bad boy so that everybody can enjoy it. So first, Stephen, for those who don't know you, they've seen you before. But for those who don't know you, go ahead and tell them all about yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hello, everybody. Yeah, so I've been making. First of all, I'm the writer, creator, and producer of the whole Everborn universe, which spans comic books, video games. We got a novel coming out later, but that whole Everborn universe all started with the games that we make. So it started with a game called Ariel's World. We're working on a sequel now, which is a much larger project called Ariel's Adventure. The Ariel's Adventure comic is coming out soon. We have the Prince of Arcadia comic that's out right now, and we got the Redlands coming soon. But I have been making games since 2011. And I'm a self-taught programmer. I use that, and I've worked in the software industry for a little while. I am a certified AWS solutions architect. So handling things in the cloud, developing games. When Windows Phone was a big thing, we had the #1 paid 2D platform on there with Ariel's World, and we also did a game called Star Tennis, and we have another game coming out very soon called Shake the Block Shootout. So that's sort of a basketball game for the kids. But we've been doing this for a while. We got more projects in the pipeline, and this is the big one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Black Sands. First of all, making video games is expensive, right?
Yes, it is.
Which is why we made sure that we weren't even going to touch this bad boy until we actually like had a strong base on Patreon, right? And hopefully we can maintain a strong base because it goes up and down sometimes depending on what we're doing. Hopefully I'm doing enough lit stuff that people are sticking around. Like, you know what? This is a good community to be in. We got a lot of competitions. We got a lot of opportunities for people who are voice actors, people who are into development for video games, making comic books themselves. So hopefully all that freaking amount of like opportunity and stuff inside the company will keep people around. The main thing is to keep them as patrons no matter what, right? And if we can maintain 1,000 and even grow, right, we're going to be able to really hit this thing full time and start developing this production so that we can have an RPG within a year that's going to be comparable to a AAA title. All right. So first of all, let's talk about what the heck is this game in the first place. So the game is going to be Black Sands Trials of the Rift, and it's going to be a production that's a traditional Japanese RPG. All right. So we're talking about turn-based combat. We're talking about items left and right. Constantly got to upgrade your gear in order to survive. It's a lot more difficult than most combat systems, right? Because scaling matters. You know, you just get wrecked by somebody who's like 3 levels higher than you. You got to go through dungeons. You got to do all this other stuff. It's very like you know, it's very classy as far as like the game mechanics, but it allows us to do what we do best, which is blow you away with aesthetics, blow you away with storyline. Right? We get out there and try to make an open world game like Dark Souls or something, but at the end of the day, right? That's not our specialty. Our specialty is making beautiful products, right? High quality products, and you know, putting the polish and story on it so that it really like impacts people. And we feel like a JRPG is the best avenue in order to make incredible, like visually stunning products. That'll basically dominate, right? We want to dominate. We don't want to do a semi-successful game. We want to freaking make a mark and then go from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just want to add, like, you know, I talked to you like years ago, like, yo, when are you putting out a Black Sands game? You ever think about it? He's like, the time's not right yet, right? And this man is a perfectionist, right? So he wouldn't be coming out with this. I just noticed from knowing you personally, you wouldn't be doing this right now unless you felt like we could do it with the level of quality that all the rest of your work is.
That's it. If we can't afford it, we ain't doing it. If I gotta dedicate resources from one project to another, we can't do it, right? So this is more of me supplying a story to Steven, right? And then Steven using his existing studio plus more people who are going to be needed for the meat of the production, and he's going to handle that whole thing. I'm just going to be there. I'm going to be like you guys. I'm literally going to be like you guys on Patreon, you guys that are investors, and I'm going to be just watching with you and testing things out and doing alphas and everything else. I'm going to be there with you guys because I really don't have the time to go and, you know, develop the game. I can just develop the story, right? And this is like, that's why we need people like him that's going to be able to basically handle the entire thing without having to, you know, not coming to me over the technical stuff. I don't need no technicalities, right?
yeah. What my team is, and we was just talking about this before we went live. Like, my team is here to build the engine, and then we show it to you. It's like, is this whack? Is this cool? Is this the system we want? And then we build it sort of as we go, like that.
Here's a good question. I'm checking this question out on YouTube. President Afro says, what platform? Well, most likely what we're going to be doing is we're going to do a 3-platform release. It's going to be on PC, Android, and iOS. That's our expectations for your initial, and then maybe 6 months later we'll go to game consoles. You know, then we'll go import to other consoles and stuff like that. We kind of don't want to deal with the controller support too early, right? So we want to be on PC and iOS and Android because, you know, it's a little easier for mapping things out, right? You don't want to build too many different ways for the UI to work, otherwise it can be a nightmare. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Yeah. So the thing about when you're building a mobile UI versus a UI that's going to be on a big screen, it might look good if you just develop it for your phone, for a phone screen that's going to be a touch interface. But when it's on a big screen, and it's going to look like it's Fisher Price. And then we don't look professional. And we don't want that. We don't want them to say, oh, there's the Black game. Look at them. They don't look. So that's
the thing. That is literally what Black Sands is. It's like you can't. I don't want to even. I want to blow away the production quality for, you know, for every system, not damn the Black community. I want to be the best looking Black game that ever existed. I want to be the best, like, oh man, it's the dopest JRPG I've ever seen in my life. You know,
right. Don't support it because like it's for the cause. You support it because it's hot, because it's the best. You know what I mean? And that's the number one thing when we make this thing.
Yep, and let's see now. We will let's go. And first of all, I want to basically give people examples, because it's one thing for us to talk about it, right? We're talking about it, but we don't actually see anything. So, by the way, do you have your visuals from the deck?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Pulling up, and I'll get that right now.
Yeah, you set that up, and I'm going to go ahead and start this video. It's about 6.5 minutes long, and it's our comp. Okay, so in other words, we're going to try to emulate as much as possible what this game is, right? Which is Battle Chasers Night War, and then we're going to add extra mechanics on it that we feel are great for our game, and also take away some mechanics that we felt was not great for their game, that might have hammed them up a bit, right? But here's the thing, so you can see it. Let's go and pull it up right here, and we'll run it.
RPGs used to mean a slow, savage grind paced out over 30 or 40 hours, punctuated by thrilling boss fights and bizarre interludes. You were subjecting yourself to an
Everybody can hear this, right?
And perseverance. Those kinds of games still pop up from time to time, but they no longer represent the standard RPG experience. Battle Chasers Night War is part of a brave new world. Now, every fight can be intense. Now, success is less about perseverance and more about skill. We've left the grind behind and embraced a more complete, moment-to-moment RPG experience. Battle Chasers is adapted from a comic series of the same name. It's 9 issues long, and I can't recommend it highly enough if you haven't read it. You control a band of adventurers from disparate backgrounds who share a penchant for trouble. The game's narrative skips the origin story and drops you right in the middle of their latest quest. Well, maybe quest is the wrong word. You literally crash land in the middle of someone else's problem and decide it's your business as well. What follows feels like just the right amount of story. I learned enough to stay curious, yet I was never bogged down with wave after wave of story. Instead, every development is interspersed with a heaping helping of glorious battle. Enemy encounters all come with a certain amount of tension. You never feel like this is going to be another routine battle unless you've wandered back to a previous zone. As long as you're pressing forward, things can go south in a hurry. Your stats grow slowly, the enemies are ever stronger, and proper strategy is persistently essential. I had a difficult time getting through this game. As soon as I got comfortable fighting a certain subset of enemies, the next tier would quickly annihilate me. A moment's distraction was all they needed to sneak through my defenses and eliminate my party. You can't mindlessly power through these battles. I was taught this lesson over and over until I started directing all my focus towards the task at hand. Thankfully, these difficult fights are made ceaselessly compelling by the combat mechanics. Even in the hazy hours of the evening, barely able to keep my head upright, I could still find the focus required for just a few more encounters. In fact, it's a real shame I have to stop playing in order to write this review. Damage dealt is divided into actions, abilities, and bursts. These options go from free to crazy expensive in that order. You could spend the whole time unleashing abilities, but you'd be bereft of mana almost immediately. Instead, you want to use actions to build up overcharge, which is basically free mana stacked on top of your actual supply. This turns regular battles into this dance, where actions and abilities and bursts follow one another in a careful rhythm. Then, when a savage boss battle has you pinned to the wall, you can discard this safety net and start draining your stores of magic in order to secure your victory. Another factor that influences combat? Time. Your actions are instant, while abilities take time to unleash. So not only do you need time to build up overcharge, but you need more time to actually pull off your best moves. This means more on-the-spot planning, especially in a dungeon where all the enemies are 4 levels higher than you. If you can quickly get shields or taunts up, that means more room to charge up a huge attack. Casting time equals vulnerability after all. It's not like you can do anything else while you're powering up a spell. Bursts are instant, but they take a lot of time to recharge. Successful battles come down to balancing all 3 flavors of attack while simultaneously managing defense, healing, and debuffs. Don't forget about debuffs. Things like poison, paralysis, and curses work on everyone. There were a number of battles I won while basically dead on my feet simply due to a huge stack of debuffs all kicking in at once. Let's spare a moment for the music as well. While I appreciate the graphics on display here, they function more as a vehicle that gets me to the mechanical meat of this game. The music is a different story, however. The battle theme is stuck in my head right now, with a quick little victory fanfare running on repeat no matter what I do. The boss battle track is foreboding and insistent. Every new environment comes with a change in tune, one that immediately buries itself in my brain for the rest of the day. Earlier, it might have seemed like I was downplaying Battle Chasers' visual fidelity. That would be a foolish move to make. Night War is the comic series brought to life. Each of the playable characters is an exceptional representation of their comic counterparts. The battle animations are fluid and graceful. The stages themselves are loaded with tiny details that encourage you to stop and take everything in. Though the enemy designs aren't as varied as I'd like, each region of the island does have a tailored section of opponents. Battle Chaser's presentation carves a space in your head with plans to establish a permanent residence. While most of the mechanics are rock solid, there are a couple of elements that slow things down. You can swap out perks, party members, and equipment seamlessly enough. If one character's bonuses aren't doing you any favors, you can swap them out immediately. The problem arises when switching party members themselves. Yes, you can bring someone in from the benches, but they haven't been gaining experience while they've been cooling their shield. So, if you've got 2 fighters at level 18 and 1 at level 9, you're more or less dragging a practice dummy with you to every battle. Most of the gear you find is locked to a certain level as well. On top of that, gaining levels is a somewhat slow process in the first place. You don't notice how long it takes when you're moving through the game normally. As soon as you need to bring someone up to speed, though, it gets a little daunting. I'm technically not locked into my current party, but it can feel that way. Finally, putting the various crafting tables ass deep in each of the dungeons is a great way to ensure that I don't craft things. Ever. Everyone's experience with RPGs is a little different. Perhaps your first RPG involved actual role-playing. Maybe you wandered an enormous open world for a couple hundred hours. Or, like me, you got your start grinding levels like a lunatic struggling to surmount one more wall before the sun came up. No matter your origins, the landscape of the genre is always evolving. Role-playing and adventure games are constantly stepping forward and back, merging aesthetics with ideas once separated by whole decades. Battle Chaser's Night War represents a fascinating blend of comforting tropes and freshly broken ground. Blistering, brainy combat is tucked into a gorgeous package rife with excitement and fun. Regardless of your spot on the RPG spectrum, Battle Chaser's Night War is one game you won't want to miss.
Yeah. So that's basically what we're working with right now. That's what we want to catch. We want to get the beauty and aesthetics of Battle Chasers Night War, including the system that they're using for the combat and dungeon crawling. But then we want to throw our own little like thing on there that's based on the storyline, right? And some of the storyline assets that we're going to be putting in there is simply if you ever saw, if you read Sons of Nibiru, right? Some of you might have, right? But if you read Sons of Nibiru, the first major boss in that series is Coas, who's basically possessed by a soul demon who basically absorbs everyone's soul. That's what he does. He's constantly hungry, and because the party isn't even ready to fight him the first time they come engage with him, in the first dungeon you're ever gonna do, we're gonna fucking throw you in there so hard. The first dungeon you're ever gonna do, you have to avoid him at all costs as you're going through the dungeon. He's gonna be randomly patrolling that bastard, and if he sees you, he's coming after you. If he engages you 3 times, you automatically lose the dungeon because you're dead. All right, because he's gonna steal your soul. So that's gonna add an extra layer of like intensity when you're like exploring the dungeon. You're gonna be like, man, should I go and get that treasure right there, or should I get the hell out of this room because he's right around the corner? You know, that's kind of a dead end if I go down there and get that thing. I don't know if I can afford it right now. You know what I mean? So, you know, these are the things that we're going to be thinking about. Let's see. What else? Let's see. Are you ready for me to pull it up?
Yeah. I'm sharing my screen, so.
Okay. Let's see.
So you can see these are some of the mock-ups that we already have set up. You see it's very similar for that turn-based style that we're talking about. And then we can see what the dungeons are, what we're aiming for it to look like.
Yeah, we actually did pretty good stuff as far as like building a pitch deck for this entire production. You know, so some of these things we already built out. You know, like world map exploration, these kind of things, right?
Yeah, this is sort of the overworld we're looking at right here.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a lot more zoomed in than that. It's just like if we were pulling the entire thing in there, that's how it will look. And then we're going to go much closer in there and actually like have like a whole bunch of locations to go to.
You want to talk to them a little bit about what you're thinking about the other aspects of it, like the relationship manager and crafting?
Yeah. So in most JRPGs, we don't really have a lot of relationship management, right? people usually they are at what they are, and the story never changes, right? But in Black Sands, we want to make sure that you're playing Ra, the Pharaoh, who's like the main character, and you're basically the way you lead is what's going to change the entire thing, right? The way you lead is what's going to decide how your party is going to be. You might force people to become certain ways, fighting wise, because of how you treat them, right? Maybe you're an asshole all the time, and because you're an asshole all the time, people are tougher, but they also like don't heal well or something like that, right? Like like they don't have very good. Their support spells are much weaker than they are normally because you were being a jerk throughout the entire storyline, trying to say like hey, let's get this done, right? And you know, also characters will like you or dislike you, and sometimes extreme events could happen because of that, right? So you never know. Maybe you won't be able to bring somebody into a dungeon at all, period, because of a certain altercation that y'all had in the story, and now you got to do this dungeon without them, and it might be like you might really need them for it. You know what I mean? So these are cool like little mechanics that we want to put in there in order to feel the real RPG feel of it, and you know, increase replayability. Right? People want to play the game more than once, so replayability really matters when you can actually change the story.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rose. Appreciate that.
I also saw there were some questions in the chat. I don't know if you saw it. They were asking what engine we're using. So it will be built in Unity, which allows us to do that cross-platform development that you were speaking about earlier. This will allow us to, you know, make something that we can release on Steam without completely having to do a full port over to do it on Android and iOS. So it'll be built in Unity, but the game engine itself, for the mechanics and everything, that part of it is custom. So anybody can use Unity to make anything. So that's the base framework that we're building it in, but everything else is custom.
Roger that. Actually, let's go and take some questions. All right, so we're going to take questions for the next couple of minutes. Right, feel free to leave your questions here, and we'll just start pulling them up and answering them. This is early, super early stage. Right, we're just starting to begin this.
It's like the planning stage.
Yeah, hopefully we can build this patronage up so that we can really like go far into the production and start really hiring a lot of people. Hopefully a lot of people from our community, right? Depending on if they have the skills or not, but hopefully we can hire in, you know. So but either way, everybody who's a patron and an investor is going to have access to alpha. All right, so we're going to be developing, and when we have something that we can somewhat play, even if it's like super freaking basic, we're going to allow it. We're going to allow you guys to test it out, right? Test it out, answer a couple of questions from us, like, you know, like survey questions. That way we understand how you feel about the actual game and this mechanic specifically, and what we can adjust and stuff is really based on what the patrons believe. We personally believe that while it's nice to go and look at Hollywood or look at the industry and look at San Francisco and say, oh, this is how they want me to do it, right? But that's not how we're going to handle this. We're going to develop it based off of what does Malcolm X Boulevard want us to do with this game? You know what I mean?
Right. Honestly, though, like very seriously, it's very important that feedback that we get from you guys. So when we build this thing and we have a very early alpha, you know, what the feedback that we get from you guys will dictate how we develop that game. And I just know from making games for so long that it doesn't matter how good I am and how much of a natural sense that I have and how long I've been playing games. When you are making something that is not only for you, when you're making it for your audience, their input is so valuable because you can get into your own little bubble. You know what I mean? And when you're in that bubble, you know, you may not, it's what you may like in the game might not be with the broader audience. So we definitely need you guys' help when we get to that stage.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Phoenix. I appreciate that. All right, so let's go back because I went really far forward, right? And I want to go right here. Let's see. Dang, I went forward like crazy when I. Is a lot of a lot of comments came in when I said we taking questions. It just blew up my whole chat. So I got to go and find where we're at. Make sure I'm not skipping anything. Oh yeah, and this is like how characters look. So remember when you saw on the video, you saw how some of the people were talking in like chat, like for like left and right. This is how like most of the dialogue will be happening in the game. They have like sprites. This is MSME's sprite right here, basically, and this is very important because you gotta have like really compelling looking characters, right, in order to basically make it seem like it's one of the highest productions you can make, right? And I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments what you think about MSME's design right here. Whether that's fire or that's trash. Let me know. All right, let's see. An invisible kind of gameplay style. I don't know what this is. Do you know what that is? Ethereum? What's Ethereum?
I don't know what that is either.
Okay. Okay. So I guess not. Let's see. How can we invest? Well, personally, I don't know if we're going to take an investment round for the video game. We are taking investment rounds for Black Sands brand in general. Obviously, the company is getting an investment round at the end of the month. Right, so people are going to be able to invest in our company from there, and the video game is obviously going to be owned by the company. So technically, investing in the video game as well. With that being said, we don't know whether we're going to take this to Kickstarter, where video games technically like thrive right now, or we're going to do an investment round and try to get a lot of money to develop the game. Right, it really depends. What are we really shooting for? Are we shooting for a budget that's going to be around $150,000? Or are we shooting for $500,000 or $1 million budget, right? If I'm shooting for $1 million budget, I'm just gonna let people invest, right? I'm just gonna be like, hey, here's 30% of the license, right? You said I need $1 million, right? And so it really depends, right? We'll see what the momentum is on this particular product. If it's amazing, we might do that route, right? If it's good but not like something that's like clearly just unstoppable, then we'll go and do it the Kickstarter route. With that being said, we never know what's going to happen, right? Because if we do, like I said, if it does blow up, I might make this a culture thing where basically I'm always giving up a piece of the license, right? I'm really good at raising capital right now, so I might always do, giving up a piece of the license. People just go and own a piece of that for the sake of just building up the Black community. I might just be like, everything I do hits, so let's just do it that way, and we'll always seed everything out. We don't have to, but we always will, just so that there's a lot of people in the Black community who benefit when we succeed, right? As opposed to just me, right? Or whoever is the head people that are developing the products. Some companies have done that before. Amplitude Studios has done that a lot in their past. I love their studio, by the way. They're Norwegian or whatever, but they have a different mindset when it comes to engaging with the community. So I've seen it before, and who knows, we might be doing that as well. All right, how long are you guys aiming for the game to be? How long is a typical JRPG?
I mean, it depends. Yeah, it could be 30, 40 hours.
Yeah, they're pretty long, mostly because of a lot of grinding and actual fighting, right? So it takes a while to go through all that most of the time. So let's just say on the conservative side, 25 hours, right? Conservative side, 25 hours.
Right? Yeah, that's the other thing. We want to get to a place where we can release this thing. Like we can develop it for 7 years, like they did with The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, with that 1 year, man. 1 year development.
Yeah, if we want to get this thing for you guys to have in your hands, I think 20-25 hours is a realistic goal with a 1 year time frame.
Yeah. Let's see. Give patrons the cheat codes. No, I'm not giving you cheat codes. Nobody's cheating on this game. With that being said, I'll give you like alt skins, That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give all the patrons alt skins. Y'all gonna have like Solar Raw or something, right? Where he's like fucking like Metroid. Like he's like like he looks like he's like a mecha version of Raw or something. That way, that way you guys got your own special look that only the patrons got. You know what I mean? I think that'd be good.
I might try to sneak some cheat codes in under Manuel's nose. We'll see. I'm not telling nobody.
I'll be heated if I see a SAR version, a SAR's on the party. I'm like, he's not even alive yet. If he's in the story, I'll be angry. All right, let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see what else we got here. I got okay, here's a question. Make sure when you're asking questions to put a question mark at the end, just so I can weed through the comments faster and be like, okay, here's a question, right? So here's one. I just got here, but how will progression work for characters? All right, so we actually have this here. So I think we have it in the document, right?
I think so. I'm trying to scroll down.
Well, one thing about the production is there's two paths for every character, right? And a third path that unlocks through the story. So, and basically, you're going to be able to, you're going to get new skills every so levels or something like that, right? And then you're also going to have a custom like tree of like perks and stuff that you can pick at any time. You can add them or unadd them, and they'll just be there at all times, right? The only difference is you can't mix the roles. So what happens is you got a finite amount of points, right? You can't get all the points in a specific tree, and more importantly, you can't go into the other tree. So if you decide to be a light-based character or whatever, then you can't be darkness-based or whatever. You can't. You still get moves to have darkness-based skills, but you can't like amplify them, right? Because you've specialized, right? And that's a cool way of adding some replayability and also making decisions matter, right? You don't want somebody basically all around all the time. Otherwise, the character will basically work the same every time, So that's how we're handling that on progression. Let's see what else. Do you have a planned story for the game? It's based on the Sons of Nibiru timeline. All right, so this is before Ra has left the rift. This is where he was created. This is where all the gods were created. So it's a lot more ancients and gods and sci-fi than what you typically would see in Black Sands, right? Black Sands is more real world, like the real world with gods in it. This is more the gods world completely, right? So that's what. So that's how the story is going to be going in here. It's going to be pretty cool too. You're going to love it. Let's see what else. Is there a game design document already made? Yes. Well, kinda, right? We have basically the pitch deck that breaks down everything, including the production for the whole year, right? You can handle that one, Steven. What you guys say about that?
Yeah. So the the game design document is sort of a living, breathing thing at this stage. So like I said, right now we're in the early planning stage, which would be the discovery. So we have the idea that we say, okay, Battle Chasers Night War, we want to make something like that in the Black Sands universe. That's our starting point. Then we know who our audience is. So I have listed here the questions that we ask ourselves in this phase. What is the game about? Who is the audience? The audience is you guys that are listening right now, and everybody that is a supporter of the Black Sands universe. Is there a market, and what's the competition like? I say for what we're trying to do, we could say that JRPGs are the competition, but I don't know that that's really true, because I can't think of, and maybe you guys can, I can't think of another RPG that tackles Egyptian mythology in the way that Black Sands does, right? Japanese RPGs are called Japanese RPGs because a lot of them are rooted in Japanese culture, right? And that's why I say, like I said on the last one of these we did, this is a BRPG, right?
BRPG, that's a new genre, baby. We're gonna build a genre here.
That is what we're doing.
We're gonna build a genre.
How will it be monetized? Will it be sold on the platform, or is it free to play? That's more of a question for you, good sir. But these are the questions that we are trying to figure out now before we get to the game design document. That's in weeks 4 through 8 that we get there.
Yeah, 100% pay to play, right? Pay to play, cheaper on iOS and Android, right? Because obviously it has to be stripped down a bit, right? But basically, it's going to be, you're going to pay it, no microtransactions, and we're good to go, right? I like making one good product, right? Not having to go and bullcrap people. The good thing is, market-wise, JRPGs kill it on the indie market. All right, so from that perspective, we're gonna have a lot of customers that are just random. They have nothing to do with the Black Sands movement at all. But like, this is a dope looking JRPG. I want to play one, right? So that's good. Let's see what else we got here. What kind of skills are you looking for? I believe this is a recruitment question, so feel free.
Yeah, so really right now, what me and my team, there's 3 of us right now. We're the technical leads at the moment. So what we are doing is building the game engine itself. What will the fighting system be? How will you traverse through the world? That relationship manager that we were discussing earlier. So our goal now at this stage is to build the bones of the game, and then we will start to look for artists, animators, level designers that won't really need to worry about the coding aspect of it, but more so the creative aspect of it, to create the dungeons and things that we are going to generate and create the assets and those things. And again, these things will change with feedback, but right now, if creativity is the number one thing, and if you are a skilled animator, if you are a skilled level designer, things like that.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Real time or turn based? Yes, so it's going to be turn based. This game is going to be turn based. You know, it's going to feel like a regular JRPG. It's just going to look significantly better, right? And because of that, it's gonna not feel the same. It's not going to feel the same just because of the level of detail and animation and all the cool factors that we're going to add to it. It's going to feel slightly different from a regular JRPG, but it's nothing more than a Final Fantasy type combat system, right? It's just turn-based, right? Initiative, blah, 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 you know, those kind of great things. Let's see what else.
I have a question for you.
Here's a good question. Man, why do women never have clothes on? Can you name on the top of your hand, like just count on your hand, how many male characters in Black Sands has clothes on?
That is very. That is very.
I'm just trying to make sure because we're pretty equal. It seems like nobody has clothes on.
Shirts there.
I'm just making sure because I was very specific on that. I made sure that it's hot, man. Everybody got no clothes on. In fact, she's probably overdressed compared to, you know what I'm saying? He said, MSME got respect, man. I put respect on MSME. I don't let her be going all crazy.
I would argue that when you live in harmony with nature, you might not need a shirt.
Yeah, well, that's why all the men got their pecs out, right? Because we alpha looking all He-Man out here. Let's see. Okay, I might be late. What do you guys envision for the map? Well, the map is a completely like made up location. So this is the Rift, right? So this is like where the gods were created. It's like an alternate dimension that Noon created. So you know this is like what we would like call like a super closed environment where you're gonna see lush jungles and then like freezing mountains and volcanoes and all the other stuff. You're just gonna see that in this small space because this is a place where they train the gods to rule the world, right? So they have to have every aspect of the world in this area. So it's gonna be very wildly different as far as like what the lands look like and stuff like that, and that'd be pretty cool. All right, so I think we're at the end of the questions. So let's go ahead and you can go ahead and just give your final thoughts on what we're doing with this, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, man. So this to me, I'm super excited about this because that's really what I played. You know, I remember Fantasy Star before it was Fantasy Star Online, right? I and these are the kind of games that I grew up with. Dragon Quest, you know what I mean? And to make something like this in this rich universe, is really for me kind of like one of those dreams. And I've been trying to work with this guy for a long time. So shout out to you, sir.
No, yeah, well, I'm working with the community. So first of all, thank you all for being with us this evening, talking about this. I'm super excited. A lot of you guys are patrons. That's why we have like damn near 185 people here right now on YouTube. I just really appreciate you guys showing up, doing the job, helping out with polling whenever we have poll questions on Patreon, right? And remember, it's all about numbers. Think about it. We're doing everything with $5 and $20 monthly donations, right? And that's what's building all this. It's just the fact that we got numbers where people, other people, they can't get subscriptions for their lives, right? But we take action. That's what we're known for. This entire community is about taking action. And that's why we're able to develop these. That's why we're able to sign people's comics to BSP. That's why we're able to build BSP in the first place and build the animations. It's all because we take action, and everybody else just hits like and throws a comment, and then they're done with the day, right? So if you're one of those people who wants to be a part of our community, participate in all the productions that we're doing, the video games, the shows, shooting your shot as casting, investing in our company, which comes the end of the month, right? Then, hop on that Patreon. The link's right there, patreon.com/blacksands. We need you. We want you. And more importantly, it's lit. We got it lit over there, man. We got some awesome stuff in Patreon. All right. So we're out. This is a great meeting on this. Remember, if you are a patron or an investor, you will get a link on Wednesday for our quarterly meeting for the company. All right. So we're going to be talking about all the actual things that have been going on in the company in the last quarter, including the financial statements, blah, 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 right? And you guys are going to get all that information. So at least you know exactly where we stand as we are moving forward. All right. Thank you guys so much. And have a great night, guys.